Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're going to continue setting up science packs, and the last one that we need to do is the high-tech science pack. Before we get into that though, you can see by looking at the ingredients that we're going to need two things that we're not producing yet, and that's batteries and processing units, otherwise known as blue circuits. So we're going to start with those, and then we'll get to making the high-tech science packs. Before we get started though, I just want to show you a few updates I've made to the base between episodes. I took some time to expand our green and red circuits to the final quantities of machines that we need. So we've got 30 machines now making green circuits, and I basically just took what we had and repeated it up the line. You may recall at the beginning I said that we would need 2.5 lines of copper, 2.5 red lines. So we have 2 dedicated lines, and then I just put splitters to bring up another, I guess you could say another half line each. And then once I got past the first 8 green circuit assemblers, I merged that belt with the red belt here. I may have to move that merge point farther down. We'll see how it goes, but since we're only pulling off of this inside belt, this belt on the outside is just going to carry the extra copper that we need, and then here it'll get added back in to the belt that runs up and feeds the rest of the machines. All right, so this first part is basically where we're consuming the half a belt, or 1/4 on each side, and then going the rest of the way up. So if we've got 2, 4, we've got 15. Yeah, so that should work, because here this is about 1/4 of the capacity, and this is 1/4 of the capacity. So between those two, they should consume that half a belt, and then the full belt carrying up the rest of the way. I also upgraded these iron belts to red, because a yellow belt wasn't enough to feed the whole thing. And then, like I mentioned, over here on red circuits, we now have 60 machines making red circuits. Looks like we need to get a radar up there. Can't even see the end of it. But again, I just took what we had and repeated the same pattern all the way up the line. So we're at full capacity there on circuits. While I was doing that, I noticed that iron was running low. So I found another iron patch, and again we need a radar up there as well. In fact, why don't we go ahead and put a couple radar down before we forget about it. So basically what I did is I put some more miners on that patch up there. Those miners are enough for a red belt. I bring that red belt down, and then here I split it into 4, and then each one of those split ones I merged into my main 4 belts going to the smelting lines. I know this looks a little complicated, but basically all I did is split this one into 4 equal parts, and then each one of those equal parts gets merged into one of these belts. All right, this 3rd belt is going up to here, and then the 4th one comes down where it merges there. So I know that looks kind of complicated, but that's basically all I did was split this into 4 parts and then merge it with the rest of the belts. All right, so let's put a radar up here. Oh, and then I also added more electricity. So usually whenever I add power, I try to at least double what I already had. So I did that here. I set up 2 more lines of 20 boilers and 40 steam engines. So we've got twice as much capacity as we did previously. As you can see, we're not using very much of it, but at the time we were using quite a lot. And then on the research side, while I was doing all that, I finished getting the rocket shooting speed research that we needed. There were 5 levels of that, so I got all 5 levels. The only research that we still need before we can research the rocket silo is speed module 3. But for that one, we need the high-tech science pack, which we don't have yet. And then, in the meantime, I've just been getting some of the miscellaneous research that hasn't been done yet. This is not research. Actually, we can do more mining productivity now. Let's do that. This isn't research that we necessarily need for launching a rocket. But since I am playing a game with no mods, I want to go for that. There's an achievement for researching all the technologies. Tech Maniac. I've never actually gotten that because usually I'm playing in games with mods, and you can't get those. At least you can't get the Steam achievements if you're using mods. So I figured I'll just use this playthrough to grab that achievement while we're at it. Okay, we needed another radar over here. Way up here. So I'll just drop this off at the top of the line. That looks like a good spot. Okay. I also researched automobilism, which lets me make a car. So let me put some wood in there. So this will help us get around the base much more quickly, as you can see. Now with the car, you can drive on belts without causing any damage, but if you hit anything else, like a power pole, you will damage it, and it's a little tricky to get used to. So if you're going to use a car, I suggest you make a few repair packs first, because you're probably going to need them. Alright, so let's get started making batteries and blue circuits. Now if we look at the ingredients for those two items, you can see that we need sulfuric acid. So that's the first step. Now how do we make sulfuric acid? We make that with sulfur, iron plate, and water. So that means we need sulfur first, and to make sulfur, we need water and petroleum gas. Okay, and we happen to have both of those things readily available over here. So why don't we... Now, there's a couple ways you could do this. One way would be to... first of all, I'm going to need a couple chemical plants. I'm going to need one sulfur and one sulfuric acid. So normally the way that I would do this would be to have the plant making sulfur just directly insert into the plant making sulfuric acid. And we could do it that way. The only, I guess, minor complication is that we need iron plate in order to make the sulfuric acid, which means that I'm going to have to get a belt from over here and feed it all the way down here, which is a little bit messy. So the other thing that we could do is we could pipe over our petroleum onto the bus and move it over to an area where those resources are easier to get to. And that's what I intend to do right now. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to start by just making some room here so I can get my petroleum. Let's see. Let's move that over there. And we'll get our petroleum moved up to the main bus. Okay, let's move over one more. Okay, So I think we can make this stuff down here. Grab some grenades. Get rid of these trees. Still takes a few shots to get rid of rocks. And you can hurt yourself too, obviously, which is what I was just doing. Okay, so first things first, we need sulfur. All right, so I guess we can do it this way. All right, so this will make sulfur, and that takes water and petroleum. And then this will be for the sulfuric acid, which takes sulfur, iron plate, and then we'll want a storage tank in which to put it. Yeah, let's move that out there. And I want to do that just because we're going to need room to bring in our iron plate. Okay, so we'll need an underground pump for the water. And we can put that, let's see, yeah, we'll put that right there. Okay, and then this will be for the petroleum. There we go. Okay, so now we're making sulfur, and then down here we just need to get iron plate, which is easy enough. Okay, well, that's unfortunate, but that's not a showstopper. Let's see, we'll bring it down right here. And then we can run it over there. Now let's see, this crafts 1 plate per 1 second, so we can use a single yellow inserter on that, and that should be plenty. Let's just watch it run and make sure that everything is working correctly. And this will actually run a little bit slower than full speed. You really need, because this takes 5 sulfur per cycle, and this only makes 2 per cycle, so you really need multiple sulfur machines to make this run non-stop. But we don't need that much acid. According to the planner, 1 machine making acid should be enough. Okay, so now that we have the acid, we are going to put a pump on there, and then we'll put this up onto our bus. And we'll put it right there. So here we can continue petroleum. I'm not sure if we really need any more petroleum at this point, to be honest. All right, and now we have sulfuric acid. So let's talk about batteries. We'll do batteries first. We need 2 machines making batteries, just because of what the calculator says. And we need iron plate and copper plate. And we could either put batteries on the bus, or we could make them close to the circuit area, or close to the science area. Let me think here. We could just do batteries as part of the science area. I think we'll just do that. No, I take that back. Let's make batteries separately. And the reason is because if I was going to make a larger base than just if I was going to do more than just a rocket launch, I would be using a lot more batteries than just what I need for that science. And in fact, we are going to need batteries for solar panels, for the satellite. So let's just go ahead and set up batteries in its own little thing. In fact, we can put the batteries right over here. I'm going to use 2 machines to make the batteries. And those are made in chemical plants, as you can see, which is a little different. We'll put a light there, and we'll put a light there. Okay, and then a few pipes, and that gives us sulfuric acid in both. We should be okay without having a pump here. Okay, and then these require 1 copper and 1 iron plate. And the cycle time is 5 seconds, so a yellow inserter is plenty sufficient for that. And then what we can do is we can pull some of our iron from there. Whoops. And we can bring in the copper plate down here. So let's go ahead and get that set up. Actually, we can just use the yellow belt there. Now, even though I'm only using a yellow belt to run the copper plate down, I still have to use a red splitter to ensure that this path maintains full throughput. If I made this a yellow splitter, then I would only get half of the throughput coming out on this side, and that would slow down all the rest of the bus. So that's why it's important to make sure that you're using basically the same color item on the whole path. And then from here down, I can use all yellow. All right, so we are now producing batteries. And what we'll do is, well, let me do this a different way. And I'll show you a little trick. If you are adding things on one side of a belt and you want it to go on both sides, what you can do is put a splitter, and then on the side that's not being filled, just run it over like that. And that's how you can take a belt that's loaded on one side and load both sides of it. Okay, and then we'll put this up on the bus. Now, the nice thing about this is that if you decide later to expand your base, you want to start making lots of solar panels, robots, whatever, this way you can easily add more machines making batteries to expand. You've got plenty of room to do that. And that way you can expand your battery production without having to do a lot of major changes to the base. All right, so I think I'll run the batteries here next to the coal line. And we'll go ahead and bring this over. And then I think we'll do the high-tech science packs down here. That way we can side load this belt to run the packs up to the lab. Alright, yeah, so I'll just go ahead and extend this all the way down. Alright, so there's our battery production. And then the next thing that we're going to need is blue circuits. Let's take a look at that. We need 20 electronic circuits, 2 advanced circuits, and 5 sulfuric acid. For blue circuits, we're going to need 15 machines at least. I'll just make it 16, and we'll do 2 rows of 8. So let's just clear out some space here. Okay, that's 6, that's 8, that's 2, 4, 6, 8. There we go. So first machine goes there. Alright, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. We'll make a space of 3. Oops, I am out of machines. Go grab some more. Looks like I'm going to need some inserters as well. I used up a lot of inserters when we expanded the circuits. Oh, now that we're here, we can make stack inserters here. We'll have to bring up red circuits here at some point. I still haven't done that. But we'll save that for later. All right. Processing units. Let's see. There we go. Okay. And then I'm going to, let's see. Usually I have the pipes coming out the back. Let's do it a little bit differently. Here we'll have them in the middle. Okay. That does mean that we need to put our power poles in a slightly different place than we usually do. No, actually, that's not going to work. All right. Let's just do this the regular way. That wouldn't work with the pipes. Okay. So we'll put power poles here in the center like we usually do. And then we put our lights in the front. Okay. So, in this case, we're going to need, with 16 of these, we're going to be using close to 30 circuits per second. We would be using we would be using 20 per second with 10. And we have 16. So that's actually a little more than 30 per second, which is more than one red belt's worth. So we're basically going to need a red belt on each side, just with green circuits. And actual consumption will be less than one red belt on each side. But we do have to, but it's more than a yellow belt, which is why we need to feed it with a red. And then we need 2 red circuits, so we can use a yellow belt with red circuits. And then because the output of this is rather slow, we can use a yellow belt on the output. All right, so let's go ahead and set this up. Oh, crud. That's the wrong stuff. Green circuits is what we need there. My apologies. There we are. Okay, and then the sulfuric acid, like we did with the engines, we'll bring in from the outside like this. Okay, and then 20 and 10 seconds we'll be fine with a fast inserter. And then we need a long inserter there on the inside, and then a yellow on the outside. Okay, and then I'm going to connect these sections like that. Okay, so let's bring up the red circuits. There we go. Yeah, and actually that can be yellow. I'll just make this a yellow belt. You know, at this stage of the game, if for convenience, if you wanted to, you could just use red belts everywhere. I just like to use the lowest tier item that will get the job done. That's just the way I like to play. But it's, you know, there's nothing sacred about that, though. You can do it however you see fit. Okay, and then we put in our output inserters. And, oh, okay, and then we just have to hook up the acid, which I've just made a little more difficult by the positioning of that red belt. All right, let's go grab some more pipes. This would probably be a good time to use the car. All right, facing the wrong way. so let's go and grab our sulfuric acid. Here it is. And we just need to run this all the way down there. Okay, and now we're making blue circuits, and we just need to get these down on the bus. I'm just going to leave it right there because, yeah, I'm probably actually going to need to run it this way to begin with to get it down here to where we're going to need it for the high-tech science packs. Okay, so I've run a little bit long on time, so I'm not going to set up the other side of this for you here on camera, but now that you've seen how this is put together, I'm confident that you can do that without me showing it to you. So I'll go ahead and do that offline, and in the next episode, we'll start making the high-tech science packs. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.